Hi, I'm Michael. Do you know that 15-page story that you wrote for your character before the campaign began? If you give it to me, I'm looking for a shredder. Couple reasons. One, you are probably not the writer you think you are. Two, this character hasn't stepped foot in this world yet. You don't know what's going to be happening in the campaign, so why are you putting everything forward and cutting off possibilities before the game even begins? The idea that you have to have all this information set, a lot of those things are taken from either acting questionnaires or things for characters in books. There's two problems with that. One, role-playing games aren't either of those things. If for an acting questionnaire, what I'm doing is I have the whole script. I've read the whole thing. I am now able to look at the entirety of it and make my decisions. Two, those things are not supposed to be locked in stone. I have this thing in mind as I come in. This is both as a director and as an actor. When I come in, I have very strong ideas, but they are all subject to change. Because what happens when I am in a scene with another person, or if I'm directing, I am working with the actors in the scene, their ideas should alter and change mine, because we are creating a product together. But that product we're creating in most theater is for a full product that an audience gets to see at some point. When it comes to creating characters in a role-playing game, improv is actually a much better way to go. What you want to do, as opposed to prescribing everything about your character, is decide as little as possible with it still being meaningful. And here's what you need to do. Create the broad strokes. Be specific. Anytime you go wishy-washy, your character will suffer for it. If it's something your character doesn't care about and it's important to the game, it's probably not going to work, or go down another path. If your character doesn't care about the king who is currently in charge of the country, that can be fine. They're living their own life. What is something they do care about, either positively or negatively, that also might tie into it? And if you're playing a group of people who are trying to overthrow the king, you should care one way or the other about this happening. So when you sit down, one of the reasons we have these questionnaires is it feels like there's every single possibility in the world for what this character might be, and that feels like too much. It's the fear of the blank page. Start with simple questions, and then ask yourself, because of this, what is the next natural consequence? You are building the place that you're going to go behind you. Remember where you've been, and don't be afraid to go back and take some branches off, and think of what the general concept of the campaign is. If we are doing a D&D campaign, and you come in with, we'll say, a barbarian, and I don't know if they're overclassed because I've not played D&D since Dark Sun was relatively new. But by itself, D&D doesn't tend to require the characters to have a huge amount of depth. The depth in D&D is mechanical. It's not personal. There are other games that do ask for more and have different ways of doing it, and with some of those, I'm going to end up addressing some ways to create characters as a group with more depth, but this is how to make those quick decisions. Player characters are almost always people who have gotten outside of their comfort zone and they've gone someplace else. They are not sitting at home like the vast majority of the world. An easy start is, why did they leave? What brought them away from the village? I'm going to go through some examples. So I've got my barbarian, and I don't know a lot about her yet. Well, why did she leave? And my first thought might be emotionally how I want her to feel about her village. Let's go happy. She likes it. Happy is a little wishy-washy, but I'm more going the direction to make that decision. So she loves her village, but something is missing. She feels like she needs more. There's a whole world, and she grew up in this small village. She's a barbarian, so we're probably looking at more of a primitive technology compared to other places. She sort of has wanderlust and wants to get out there. Cool. Because I chose happy and not sad, immediately out of my head goes the thoughts of like, oh, she's searching for vengeance or something. Like, she wants to explore the world. So in general, I think we've got someone who's fairly optimistic because she still looks back joyfully on her life, but she wants to see more. and she might get homesick, but she's not out there to prove a point. She wants to see things. So cool. So already I have this sort of an interesting barbarian who's very excited to be out and see things in the world. And as a matter of fact, if you saw Wonder Woman, and this is not something I planned, that's kind of what her thing is too, or Moana, to another degree, is, I mean, Moana's got reasons to go out there, but she also wants to see all these things. She wants to experience it. There is a level of joy in that character that comes because they're leaving not just because she has to in both of their cases, but because they want to. They want to see what's out there. So she's gone out. Then I want to ask, so she's seen all these things. Has she been hugely impressed with civilization when she's come to it so far? And I'm going to say no. I like the idea that, so she's wandered. Did she find what she wanted? No. But I like the idea that this hasn't deterred her. She's seen some of the darker sides of the city. She's seen that she's not necessarily welcome places. She's seen how people treat each other and sometimes cheat each other. And she's looking for still the gold that's out there in life. She's looking for the good things and not just the crap that's under the rock that she picked up. And she understands this is not the world. So she's been through some shit, and she's not just kind of coasting on being naive. So she has some experience. She's out there. What has she found that she finds particularly interesting? And in this case, I might ask the GM something, a little bit about what this world is like. And it might be one thing she finds fascinating are the ruins. Let's say we're going to be doing a lot of dungeon delving. She finds the ruins fascinating because it tells her things about the people who used to be there, and she finds all of these things very interesting. So far, by making a couple strong decisions, I have a pretty solid picture of who this is in my head. She likes people. She likes learning things about them. She's a hell of a fighter because she's a player character barbarian, so she kind of has to be. She approaches things with joy and curiosity. Now I might be like, let's give her a couple threads that are not so positive, because we've got several of these positive threads going on. What could be something that she truly dislikes in the world? And while it would be fairly simple to go with, she's dealt with thieves or people who are magistrates who use their abilities and powers in bad ways, that to me seems a little easy and kind of already answered when it came to she's seen some of the worst things. So I want to come up with a different idea than those. How about what she dislikes is the fact that people mistake being cordial, polite, and respectful for substance. So she doesn't have a lot of patience for people who put on all of these airs, and maybe sometimes likes getting under their skin because she knows she can throw them because she's not what they're expecting. She's from a different place, so she sort of has that idea that she could be ignorant, even though she's not, about those things. There's a part of her that enjoys sticking to those people who count on the fact that society says you're supposed to act like this. I have a personal philosophy. Assholes are assholes because good people let them be assholes. Because the person who's always like, this person treated me really badly. I don't know if I should say something. It's like, no, you should say, fuck you, you're out of my life. But the better people, the good people, spend time worrying about that. The assholes will walk all over you. She doesn't have patience for that. And as a matter of fact, she can get a little cruel about it just because she's in a place where everyone knows everybody, where she's from. You don't really have the opportunity to put on those kind of airs when you are trying to survive. So there's a part of her that really dislikes that more than thieves. A thief is a thief. She can understand that. You're going off, you're stealing things, she gets it. So already, if that's all I come up with the character so far, I have an interesting character who I'd be excited to play. I think she's cool. She's got a point of view that would be intriguing when it comes to how that she interacts with NPCs and either other NPCs. It's by starting with those couple questions, and I do recommend starting with, why are they not home working a job that gives them enough money to survive or gives them the resources to survive? Why are they out here? And if they're not, if it's a type of game where your characters are pulled into something, like a lot of horror games, are they content with where they're at? If I'm here as a professor at Miskatonic University and I'm ignoring how many people seem to disappear at Miskatonic, am I okay with this? Am I happy with this? And you know what? Yes is a good answer. Like, there's a tendency to want to go no, they want to go off and do all these other things. You want to give the curiosity that will help pull them into the types of stories that are going to be told in your role playing, but you don't have to be someone who's tragic to do it. And as a matter of fact, one of the things these types of decisions may help you realize, you don't have to be special. You don't have to be a weird monster class. You don't have to be the only elf in the Dwarven campaign. You don't have to be the person who's always felt like they don't belong. And those people exist, and that's fine to play them, but there are a lot of them in role-playing games. What about the professor who likes being a professor, who gets a lot out of it, but goes off and does these things because it's one of the things they're interested in as well? Indiana Jones is that guy. You see him teaching classes. He goes off and does the adventures because he wants to bring these things back that are important to him. But at his heart and soul, dude's a professor and an archaeologist. And the classes seem to like him. So, when you're creating your characters, the questions you need to be asking are not these big, giant, how do I feel about my mother and father precisely? What happened to them? Why are they here? It's not those questions. Be specific. Don't be specific. Don't make the answers so that they are basically not taking a stand on something. Oh, who's this person? Oh, that's my friend. Friend's a generic thing to say. Be specific. This is the person who, like, it's the part of my friend group who shows up who I don't know that well, and like only Phil knows. Everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's Phil's friend, Steve. We would not hang out with him if he wasn't there. Why wouldn't you hang out with him? It's like, not a bad person, but it's just personality-wise, he kind of rubs me the wrong way. These are good. These are specific. They're also not locking things in. You'll notice with the barbarian character, I haven't mentioned her family. I haven't mentioned specifics about her village. I have been specific in how she feels about those things, but I have not gone to the point of writing out a huge backstory. Those couple questions, and just keep asking yourself, what is the consequence of this decision? Make the decision strong, and very quickly, you'll have a character. If you're doing improvisational theater, this is what you do on your feet to create a character that feels real and has depth. So, if you take some of these techniques, feel free, if you've got some questions, put them in the comment section, and I will come through and answer them, or maybe do another video to expand on some of the ways in which that you can ask these questions. But I hope you're able to use them to create someone who is interesting without having to be like the chosen one, which I'm fucking sick and tired of seeing in role-playing games. Have a good one.